Why does God choose some people and not others? Or better yet, did he choose you? You know the theory. You know that God chooses. But deep down inside, you don't feel like you're chosen. You feel invisible. In this video, you're going to understand God's pattern. He never chooses the qualified. He chooses the ones who need to be qualified. And then, he equips them. If you want to know if you were chosen and what changes when you believe it, watch until the end. Marcus sits at his kitchen table at 6:47 a.m. on a Tuesday morning, staring at his phone. He's scrolling through LinkedIn. You know that thing where everyone posts about their promotions, their dream jobs, their living my best life moments? Yeah, that. He's 34 years old, and he's been doing the same job at the same company for 7 years. 7 years. He's not angry about it. That's the weird part. He's just invisible. Not actually invisible, obviously. His coworkers say hi in the hallway. His manager knows his name. But there's this feeling, this creeping suspicion that's been growing for years, that somehow everyone else got the memo. Everyone else knew what they were meant to do. They got chosen for something bigger. They stepped into their calling, their purpose, their destiny, whatever you want to call it. And Marcus? He's still waiting for that phone call, that moment, that feeling of being selected. Here's the thing about Marcus that matters. He's not lazy. He's not unambitious. He actually works hard. He shows up early, stays late, does good work. But there's this voice in his head. You know, the one that whispers, maybe you're just average. Maybe God chose other people for greatness, and you got the consolation prize. He looks at his phone one more time, closes it, and thinks, is there anything special about me at all? Has God ever really chosen me for anything? And that's where our story begins. But it's also where God's story begins. If you're here, God spoke to your heart. But first things first, make sure you're subscribed to our channel. The next videos are part of a powerful series where God keeps speaking directly to you. Don't miss what's coming next. Here is what I want you to understand about God. He doesn't operate the way we do. We choose people based on what we see: credentials, personality, past performance, social media following. God chooses based on what he knows. And that's a completely different thing. When we talk about God choosing you, we're not talking about some random selection process. We're not talking about God throwing darts at a board and hoping for the best. Listen to what Peter says in his first letter. But you are a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a holy nation, a people for his own possession. That word chosen, it doesn't mean picked last after everyone else was already taken. It means hand-selected, deliberately, intentionally. It means God saw you and said, yes, that one. I want them. Here's the mind-bending part. This didn't happen yesterday. It didn't happen the day you became a Christian. Listen to what Paul writes in Ephesians 1-4. I'm going to read this straight. He chose us in him before the foundation of the world, that we should be holy and blameless before him in love. Before the foundation of the world. Do you understand what that means? Before the mountains rose. Before the oceans filled their basins. Before a single star was flung into space. Before your mother was born. Before your grandmother was born. God already had you in mind. This isn't about your resume. It's not about your performance review. It's not about whether you're feeling confident today or filled with doubt tomorrow. God's choice happened outside of time, in eternity, before you did anything right or anything wrong. Let me show you the pattern God has always operated in. There's this guy named Abraham. And one day, God shows up and says, hey, I'm choosing you. You're going to be the father of nations. You're going to have more descendants than stars in the sky. And Abraham is like, old, and his wife is old. And they've been trying to have kids for decades. And it's biologically impossible. But here's what matters. God didn't choose Abraham because Abraham was qualified. God chose Abraham, and then God equipped him. That's the pattern. Or look at Moses. This guy was a fugitive. He killed someone and ran away to the desert. He was a shepherd, not exactly leadership material. And one day, he sees a burning bush, and God says, "I'm choosing you to lead an entire nation out of slavery." And Moses says, "I love this. Who am I? I'm not eloquent. I stutter. I can't do this." And God basically says, "I know. That's exactly why I'm choosing you. Because when this works out, everyone will know it was me, not you." See the pattern? God's choice isn't based on what we bring to the table. It's based on His character, His love, His purpose. And here's the theological truth that changes everything. God doesn't call the equipped. He equips the called. It's not about your abilities. It's not about your track record. It's about His decision to mark you as His own. So while Marcus was sitting at his kitchen table that Tuesday morning, convinced that he was invisible to God, here's what was actually true. God had already chosen him. Before Marcus's parents met, before the universe knew his name, God had already marked him as His own. God had already assigned him a purpose. God was already orchestrating the circumstances of his life for a reason. Marcus just didn't know it yet. But here's where it gets real. Because knowing that God chose you, theoretically, is one thing. Believing it is something else entirely. Marcus knows theology. He goes to church. He's read enough Christian books to know what he's supposed to believe. And there's this gap between what he knows and what he feels. And that gap? That's where most of us live. So let me ask you, what makes it hard to believe that God chose you? For some of you, it's rejection. You've been passed over so many times. Maybe you didn't get the job. Maybe you didn't make the team. Maybe someone told you that you weren't good enough, and instead of it going in one ear and out the other, it took up residence in your head. It built a house. It started a family. And now it's like a voice in the back of your mind that says, "Yeah, but those people were right. You're not chosen. You're the alternative plan." For others, it's failure. You messed up. You made mistakes, maybe big ones. And you figure, well, God could never choose me after what I've done. I've disqualified myself. Or maybe it's comparison. You look around at other people, the Christians, who seem to have it all figured out, who got the calling early, who are doing big things, and you think, God chose them. But me? I'm just regular. I'm just trying to make it through the week. Here's the thing about Marcus. His struggle wasn't intellectual. He could explain the theology, but emotionally, spiritually, deep in his gut, he felt like he was waiting for something that would never come. He felt like a second draft of a first draft. He felt like the consolation prize. And can I tell you what that feeling does? It paralyzes you. It keeps you playing small. It keeps you from taking risks, from stepping out, from saying yes to opportunities. Because deep down you believe that you're not actually chosen for anything big. You're chosen to be on the bench. You're chosen to be safe. You're chosen to exist, but not to contribute. This is the lie we believe, that God's choice is proportional to our worthiness, that God chooses based on potential or performance or personality, that there's some scale somewhere and we're just not heavy enough. But here is the truth that contradicts everything you feel. God doesn't choose based on your performance. He chooses based on His love. That's radically different. Now, I want to tell you what happened to Marcus. But before I do, I want to be really clear. This isn't a fairy tale where everything magically works out and he suddenly becomes this huge success story. Real transformation isn't always that dramatic. What happened is this. Marcus was at church one Sunday. Just a regular Sunday. Nothing special, and the pastor read a verse. Just one verse. But something about it stopped Marcus cold. It was John 15:16. Jesus says, "You did not choose me, but I chose you and appointed you so that you might go and bear fruit. Fruit that will last." And Marcus realized something in that moment. He realized that he'd been so focused on the wrong question. He'd been asking, "Has God chosen me?" when the real issue was, why am I waiting for external confirmation of something God's already declared about me? Listen to me. God chose you, not because you earned it, not because you deserve it, not because you have your life together, or because you figured out your 5-year plan. He chose you because of who He is, because He is loving, because He is purposeful, because He is intentional, and because He looked at you and decided, "That's mine." And when God chooses you, it changes what you're for. You're no longer just trying to survive. You're no longer just trying to be good enough. You're appointed. You're assigned. You're marked for a purpose that's bigger than your own comfort or security. Now, let's make what God is doing bigger together. Hit that like button. It's a simple way to say, I'm part of this movement God is building. Your like signals to others that God's message is real and powerful. Here is what transformed Marcus. He stopped waiting to feel chosen and started acting like someone who was chosen. He still works the same job. He still has the same mortgage and the same car and the same group chat with friends. But something shifted internally. He started seeing his work as his assignment, not just his job. He started paying attention to how God was using him right where he was. He started noticing opportunities to help people, to serve, to make an impact, small things that he'd been overlooking because he was too busy waiting for the big validation. And here's what's wild. The more he started acting like a chosen person, the more his life actually changed. Not because he forced it, but because when you believe you're chosen for something, you make different decisions. You take different risks. You say yes to different opportunities. Because here is what God does when He chooses you. He doesn't just announce it and disappear. He actively equips you. He provides resources. He opens doors. He orchestrates circumstances. He sends people into your life at exactly the right moment. He gives you wisdom when you need it. He strengthens you when you're weak. Listen to Paul in 2 Timothy 1-9. God saved us and called us to a holy calling, not because of our works, but because of His own purpose and grace, which He gave us in Christ Jesus before the ages began. Before the ages began. He had purpose for you then. He has purpose for you now. God's not choosing you for comfort. He's choosing you for growth. He's choosing you to become who you're capable of becoming. He's choosing you to impact the people around you in ways you can't even see yet. He is choosing you to stand for something in a world that desperately needs people who are willing to stand. And the promise, the deep, life-changing promise, is this: you are not invisible. You are seen. You are known. So here's where we land with Marcus. He's still the same person in a lot of ways. He's still Marcus, but he's different too. He is different because he woke up to something true about himself that he always intellectually known but never emotionally accepted. He is chosen, and so are you. This is where community happens. Leave your thoughts in the comments and tell us how God is moving in your life. When you share your story, others see that God is real, active, and working in people just like them. So here's my challenge to you. This week, I want you to do something really simple. I want you to stop and ask yourself, what would change if I actually believed that God chose me? What risks would I take? What conversations would I have? What dreams would I revisit? What opportunities would I say yes to? Because that's not spiritual fantasy. That's not positive thinking. That's reality. God chose you. Before the foundation of the world, He made that choice. And the question isn't whether it's true. The question is, are you going to live like it's true? You don't need to wait for the perfect moment. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't need to wait until you've got it all figured out. You just need to say yes to the God who chose you and start walking into the purpose He has already assigned to you. The world doesn't need you to be perfect. The world needs you to be awake. Awake to who you are. Awake to what God's done. Awake to the purpose He's woven into your being. So today, I'm inviting you. Step into it. Accept the reality of your selection. Start making decisions like someone who is chosen. Because you are. God did. And everything changes from here. Amen. Thank you for joining this movement with us. Your presence here matters. If you're not subscribed yet, hit that subscribe button and become part of the community God is building. Now share this message with your network. Let God reach through you